Good morning. I'm Reverend Meredith Barber, and I serve here as the interim minister at Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. We're excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We're glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. Whether you're here for the first time or whether you've been here at Horizon for longer than you can remember. Here we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here among us.
Good morning. I'd like to give a little plug for this flyer that is in your order of service today. On Saturday morning, Carrollton's annual MLK Day Parade will take place. The parade starts at 10 a.m. We have a parade entry. We have been a sponsor of this parade since its beginning. I would love to see many of you joining us there walking. We just walk for about 1.5 miles down to Polk Middle School. If you would like to create a sign of positive, beloved community to carry, or with one of Dr. King's quotes on it, or we have a few that you could use, just join us. Be there about 20 till 10. It's on Rainwater Lane on the north side of City Hall. You may park in the Albertsons parking lot or park down by Polk and run up to the start so your car's there where we end. I hope to see many of you there. Thank you.
Good morning. Our call to worship this morning is by Gretchen Haley. If you had the chance to start again, to make your life from scratch, to decide what sort of person you would be, who you would love and how, the content of your days and hours, what songs would you sing to yourself or with others? What prayers would you let fall from your lips, urgently and with praise, with mercy or hope? What blessings would you name and share with strangers and friends? If you could take now that first step, what journey would you begin? Across deserts and mountains, or would you take to the sky? Which, despite the bitter cold, is still vast and filled with light. What work would you take? What mischief would you make? With boldness and bravery, what failure would you embrace? And what would you release? And where, in the end, would you return and call home? In this new day, in this new year, no magic wishing or wondering is required, for such a balance is always available. As with the in and out of our breath, to begin now, to live like we mean it, to see with new eyes the gift to see with new eyes the gift that is always ready and always available, to respond to this gift with wonder and gratitude, to join in this partnership, even when it breaks our heart, to keep showing up, to go with courage into this dawning day. Come, let us worship together.
We light our chalice today with words from the poet Anne Hillman. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. This is our challenge and our charge in this new year and in each new moment, to dare to be human creatures, learning to love. I invite you to join together in saying the words of our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. And now I'd like to invite us to rise, either in body or in spirit, and join in singing our opening hymn, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
So here in this community, we collect items for Metro Crest services to meet the basic needs of others in our community. If you've brought something today, can you pass it to the end of the aisle so a young person can pick it up? And young folks, I invite you to come forward now for our time all together. Okay, so our words for our time all together are based on the writings of the Reverend Molly Gordon. And we're going to be talking about something I think you're all somewhat familiar with. We're going to be talking a little bit about doors. So who here knows the book Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? Does anybody know it? Yeah. Can somebody tell me how the kids in the room discover Narnia? How do they go in there? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so they went through the door into the wardrobe. Did anybody else have anything? No? Okay, yeah. So Lucy's looking for a place to hide, like you're saying, and opens up the door to a big wardrobe. She goes through this door and into the back of the wardrobe, and suddenly she's in a whole other world. And it's a magic world. It has witches and fauns and talking beavers. So wouldn't it be cool if there were a magic world beyond every door? I used to think that when I was a kid. I would try to go to the back of my closet, see what might happen. So when Lucy opened the door to Narnia, it didn't look like anything special. It was just a boring door to a wardrobe, a closet full of coats and clothes. But across this threshold, this kind of magic line, it became something different. It became magic. So Lucy kind of already had her foot in Narnia before she realized what was happening. And we have thresholds all the time in our lives like this. We don't know that we're crossing into another world until we're already almost there. The door of a church can take us down a pathway of growth we might not have ever expected to find. The door of a doctor's office suddenly opens out into life with a hard diagnosis. A restaurant door could open to a first date and echo forward into the relationship of a lifetime. A beloved person's door closes behind you and sends you out into the world heartbroken. The door to a library or a gym or a dance studio can introduce you to something that gives your life meaning and passion that you might never have discovered before. So we cross these thresholds every day in our life, for good, for ill, in joy, in sorrow, in bittersweet truth. Even our own front door is a great threshold. No matter how familiar the worlds within and without may be. Given our lives' reality of constant change, every day we open the same old door again, only to step out into a world that is new since the day before. And so in this way, there is a new world behind every door, just like the Narnia story, awaiting our discovery, if only we think of it that way. So thank you, folks, for listening, and let's sing you now to your classes.
As always, we share the plate during our services, and today's offering, we will be sharing the plate with the Refugee Services of North Texas. I believe we have someone who will be coming and speaking.
Good morning. My name is Hope Goldman, and I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here today. I am with Refugee Services of Texas, which is a resettlement agency that has 7 different service centers throughout the state. The first one started in Dallas back in 1978. And so we have been really busy the last couple of years, especially just resettling refugees. We also help with survivors of human trafficking, unaccompanied minors. We're able to help with humanitarian parolees and even asylum seekers. And so what we do is provide services such as medical assistance, employment, so if you need resume building or a job readiness class or even help finding a job, we're able to help with our services with that. We help with getting kids enrolled in public school and adults into English classes. We're able to provide cash assistance for families as they're getting settled. And we even help them with finding an apartment, furnishing an apartment, and just making sure that they have everything they need to become self-sufficient as quickly as possible. As I mentioned, we serve a variety of different kinds of displaced people, and our mission is really to, using human dignity and compassion, welcome the displaced here to Texas and help them learn how to integrate and thrive into the communities around here. And so especially, for example, with the recent evacuation in Afghanistan, we were able to welcome over 4,000 people last year alone, which was a huge, huge increase from previous years when our resettlement capabilities were so low. And so it's been really hard work. It's been very fulfilling work, and it's work that we can't do without community members such as yourselves. I actually used to be the community engagement coordinator for our Fort Worth office, and we were able to welcome 500 Afghans, get them groceries and furnish their apartments. And for 500 Afghans, we did it completely through the generosity of our community, which is amazing. And it's always so overwhelming to think about it because it's just so beautiful what people are willing to do when they welcome everyone. With that said, some ways that you could get involved if you were interested. We have a variety of volunteer opportunities, whether you want to do something in person or whether you would like to do more behind the scenes things. We always are looking for people to do airport pickups where you go with a case manager and help us actually pick someone up from the airport. That's always been a really fun thing. We also are always looking for people to help actually set up the apartments, whether it's with your own team of people or whether you're coming along with a team that's already established. You might help with organizing our donation rooms. We have virtual tutoring opportunities. We have phone interpretation volunteering opportunities that you can do. A huge way that we always are looking for support is through advocacy, and that's something that you can do whether you're here or in Dallas or halfway around the world. You can contact local and state and national leaders to help get policies changed for us, because that's honestly one of our biggest fights, is just making sure that we have the tools that we need to help the refugees and others that we serve. You can help us by going to local events and talking about what refugees are and what they aren't. And there's a variety of other ways that you can help advocate, and we have some resources available if that's something that you're interested in. And then last but certainly not least, another opportunity for you is through the donations that we need, whether that's something that's in kind, like car seats or tablets where people can learn ESL, or grocery gift cards so they have food for the next week, or whether that's financial contributions so that way we can fund our programming and we can make sure that we have emergency rental assistance set aside for families, different things like that. So that's just a couple of ways that you can be involved. I will be here after the service if anybody wants to talk more. I have a lot more things I can share about our programs and our services and how we do what we do. And I also have this really cool cookbook that we've come out with recently that shares stories and recipes from our former clients, current and former staff members, and others, and it's been a really great advocacy tool, and you get really yummy food out of it. So I'll be here afterwards for all of those things, and again, I just want to thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Thank you so much for your time and for coming in to speak with us. It sounds like it's a wonderful organization that fits very, very clearly with our values. And I'm sure we will all be generous with both our time and our funds today. The offertory music is Holy Now by Saj Survey, and the offering will now be given and received.
When I was a boy each week, on Sundays we would go to church and sit and listen to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare and best, I barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath. Look, I'm singing in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-downs, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. See my questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. Now that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood and saw a little red-winged bird. shining like a burning bush, and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. 'Cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now.
Thank you, Saj. What a blessing. Our first reading this morning is entitled Map of the Year by the Reverend Victoria Safford. And I've adapted her words for our time together this morning. As we read, I invite you to envision in your mind a map, or maybe to draw somewhere on your order of service your year. She writes, "Here is where I found my voice and chose to be brave. Here is a place where I forgave someone against my better judgment, and I survived that. And unexpectedly, amazingly, I became wiser. Here is where I was once forgiven, was ready for once in my life to receive forgiveness and to be transformed. And I survived that also. I lived to tell the tale. This is the place where I said no, more loudly than I thought I ever could. And everybody stared. But I said no, loudly, anyway, because I knew it must be said. And those staring settled down into harmless, ineffective grumbling. And over me, they had no power anymore. Here's a time, and here's another, when I laid down my fear and walked right on into it. Right up to my neck into that roiling water. Here's where cruelty taught me something. And here's where I was first astonished by gratuitous compassion and knew it for the miracle it was, the requirement it is. It was a trembling time. And here, much later, is where I returned the blessing, clumsily. It wasn't hard, but I was unaccustomed. It cycled round, and as best I could, I sent it back on out, passed the gift along. This circular motion around and around has no apparent end. Here's a place, a murky puddle where I have stumbled more than once and fallen. I don't know yet what to learn there. On this site, I was outraged, and the rage sustains me still. It clarifies my seeing. And here's where something caught me. A warm breeze in late winter, birdsong in late summer. Here's where I was told that something was wrong with my eyes, that I see the world strangely. And here's where I said, yes, I know. I walk in beauty. Here is where I began to look with my own eyes and listen with my ears and sing my own song, shaky as it is. Here is where, if by surgeon's knife, my heart was opened up, and here, and here, and here. These are the landmarks of conversion. Here ends the reading. We come now to the time in our worship service that we set aside for meditation and prayer. We'll have a time of shared silence. We'll hear the joys and sorrows of our community. We'll hear a spoken prayer, and we'll join in singing our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life. I invite you to join me now in a time of silence. We hold today joys and sorrows not spoken aloud, but held quietly in our hearts. Loving God, Spirit of life, mystery in which we live and move and have our being, draw near to us this morning and hear our prayers. We give thanks today for this new morning, dawning cool and crisp and bright, the leafless trees like sticks waving in the breeze. We are in this in-between place, caught between the old and the new, waiting for new life to find us. Loving mystery, many of us come into this place holding grief, holding sadness, holding anger in ways both large and small. Allow those of us who are carrying these things to set them down when we are ready, knowing that now might not be the time just yet, but time will come. We are entering a new time this morning. A new year, just a week old, is dawning in front of us. And today is a day of reflection, release, and intention. We reflect on all that has led to this moment, both the joys and the sorrows, the surprises, the changes, the places where we were forced to do something new, whether or not we knew how. We reflect on what is sitting with us in a way that feels painful, that makes us feel held back somehow, where we wonder, why am I still carrying that? And we wonder about all that lies ahead, all that is waiting on the horizon. And as we wonder about what lies ahead for each of us, plant and nourish in us a budding hope, a feeling of excitement, a sense of wonder at the mystery, larger than any of us can see or understand. Push us to remember that whatever we do or do not do in the coming year, whatever goals we set and fail to meet, or even the ones we do, that we are still worthy of love, just as we are. May it be so. Amen. I invite us now to remain seated and join in singing our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life.
Our second reading today is by Elaine Keziah, entitled Here I Am. May my wisest self guide me through this day. May she remind me to look through eyes of wonder and see the abundant beauty of here and now. To live from my toes up, grounded on this precious earth and in this miraculous body. To open my heart, flinging wide its shutters, so no defenses cut me off. To employ my hands to create beauty, to soothe suffering, and to unlock potentials. Eyes, feet, heart, hands. From here, I can wake to my life and the gift that it is. From here, I can move through my day with simple ease. From here, I can spread compassion and love. From here, I can mend the world. May I be in harmony today with the current that flows through all, and may I be a faithful expression of this sacred source. Here I am.
I am usually someone who hates New Year's resolutions. And to be fair, the past few years it has felt profoundly silly to make any kind of plans regarding what the year will hold. Even still, random memories of the past few years will float to the surface of my consciousness, and I suspect I'm not alone, that have me wondering, how exactly did we make it through? And why am I just remembering this now? But we did. We made it through, and so here we are, greeting a new year, a year that feels different somehow, at least to me. There is a hopefulness bubbling up from somewhere way down deep, like a current pulling us onward. The Reverend Nadia Boltz-Weber, though, reminds us that there is no resolution that, if kept, will make us more worthy of love. You, as your actual self, not some made-up ideal, are already worthy. Nadia Boltz-Weber was one of the first ministers I didn't know personally that I admired, because she was real and told the truth, even when that truth revealed her own human imperfections. With full tattoo sleeves on both arms and always wearing her collar, she spoke and wrote with honesty about purity culture and sex and addiction and recovery, about survival, and about times when we, because of who we are, see the worst in others before we are able to open ourselves to see the best. Her honesty about the confusion around starting a church and being its minister gave me more certainty, not less. And though I don't always connect to her theology that centers on being saved by grace, I can kind of see why someone might like the idea. I can see why, on days when it's hard to see the good in the world, it might be nice to have an outside source that gives us grace for all we want to and still fail to do. But I've come to believe that the grace we most need is that which we give to our own selves. For it is only then that it can be extended to others who need it too. That quote about resolutions she has is filled with grace, filled with the concept of worth and understanding and love. There is no resolution that, if kept, will make you more worthy of love. You are, as your actual self, already worthy. And so I think that's where we begin with all of this New Year's business during this time of new storage bins and planners and all of the ways we try to kind of brighten the sometimes gray January sky. We start with the understanding that whatever we do or fail to do, whether we accomplish all our goals or check everything off of our lists, we are still worthy. Some of us who have been tuned into the work of unlearning the racism that is baked into so many of our institutions and cultural practices will remember the work of Tima Okun and others who remind us that the idea that we have to do things perfectly without ever having a misstep or a mistake is actually an idea that really gets in our way. It makes others afraid to speak up, and ourselves too, to ask questions, to wonder about new ways of doing things or looking at the world. And this perfectionism can seep down deep into our bones for some of us and make us think that sometimes if we can't do anything perfectly, that maybe it's not worth trying at all, that we certainly won't be good enough. We can make ourselves small and feel shame and anxiety around anything we try to do. And this is how perfectionism can hurt us and hurt communities. We're less free to actually live and exist when these are the expectations. I don't think this is the way we want to live with this new year we have been given. I think the allure and the gift of a new year is first that we are able to see another year of life, that it happens at all. And it is also a chance to take stock of the way we are living. It is an opportunity to say, here's what I love about my life right now, and here's what's really hard. And life can be both hard and lovely all at once for so many different reasons. This is how I've usually seen things go with New Year's resolutions, both for myself and with friends and colleagues. So we say, okay, there's more time now, and I'm going to set all of these goals for myself. I want to do this thing and this other thing, and I'm going to be a totally different person. But as time goes on, we may not be able to meet those goals, probably for all the same reasons we couldn't in other years. Because life is busy, or we don't have enough time or enough help. Or we've said, we're going to do these really huge things instead of starting with something smaller. And we get into that mindset of saying, well, I've already failed, so maybe I should just quit trying. I should give up. We don't give ourselves credit or grace for all we did do. We get stuck on all that is left to be accomplished. I wonder about how many times we've let perfect be the enemy of good, about how many times we've let perfect be the enemy of trying. Author Neil Gaiman writes, "Be kind to yourself in the year ahead. Remember to forgive yourself and to forgive others. It's too easy to be outraged these days and so much harder to change things, to reach out, to understand. Try to make your time matter. Minutes and hours and days and weeks can blow away like dead leaves with nothing to show but time you spent not quite ever doing things, or time you spent waiting to begin. Meet new people and talk to them. Make new things and show them to people who might enjoy them. Hug too much. Smile too much. And when you can, love." So my hope for all of us is that we can love often. The thing about a new year, a new beginning of any kind, is that it signals openness, opportunities, things we do not yet know about or understand that are headed our way. There are possibilities for goodness, for things to take root, for new life to grow in ways we cannot yet imagine. The new year is exciting because there is space again for hope, hope for things both seen and unseen, hope in a kind of nebulous way, energy that propels us forward. We know that change is always coming, that change is inevitable, both in our own lives and in the life of our church that is made up of human beings. Change is the only constant, and our relationship as minister and congregation will come to an end at the end of June. We will no longer be in contact to make space for whoever comes next. So change is coming, and that's both really exciting and maybe scary. As we heard in the reading earlier in Victoria Safford's Map of the Year, the last year is marked in many ways. There are places on our own individual maps where we may have known deep loss, where we were afraid and felt fear take over. But we also learned things. We learned to listen to ourselves, to say no when we needed to feel ourselves be opened, as Safford says, to moments of what she calls conversion. The conversion of which she writes, I think, is a shift toward something like joy. I read recently that success in ministry and in church life right now does not look like all systems functioning as they were before 2020. Success in ministry and in church right now might just look like a moment of pure joy. I have found that to be true. Just the way that perfection can be the enemy of even allowing ourselves to try sometimes, when we expect things to automatically return to the way they were before, we set ourselves up for a harsh reality. And when we say we want things to return to normal, it begs the question, why? Of course, we know some of the reasons. To return to what we know in times of uncertainty or distress, even if those things may not have been working or serving us, is a natural human tendency. It's part of the way that humans have survived up until now, by doing what we know how. It is easier to do what we already know how to do because we have always done it that way, than to be willing to think about new ways to live and to function. But of course, we are running into a new year, as the Lucille Clifton poem goes, already several days old. And in this new time, filled with hope and possibilities and the potential for change, we need to try our best to remain open and willing to whatever lies ahead. Because the other part of the way we have survived is by doing new things that we weren't sure would work, but trying anyway with our whole hearts. We need to try to think about what kind of people we want to be this year, about the way we want to respond to life's joys and its challenges. How do we want to be, and why? And for whom? And how will we carry that feeling of how we want to be, whatever it is, forward, long after the time for resolutions has faded, so that we can still feel ourselves meeting life the way we want to? And so for myself, I return to that feeling of hope that feels alive right now, of excitement, for all of the newness, for all of the unknowns. And I hope that you can feel it too, propelling us onward to something we cannot yet see. May it be so. Amen. So at this time, we are going to begin our burning bowl ceremony. And in your order of service, there's a little tiny strip of paper that you're going to need for this ritual. And if you don't have one, please see the ushers in the back. So you're looking for this. Small but important. "2022, the year we are leaving behind, has been full in so many ways. Earlier, during the first reading, we may have thought about times that we forgave, survived, times when we were outraged, times when our fear almost swallowed us up. And also about times when we were broken open by something unexpected. The whistle of birds in the early spring morning, or maybe something else. And then we began to turn, began to change, began to recognize the holy in ourselves and one another. We all have things we have been carrying that we might want or need to set down, to let go. Habits we've been holding on to that we might wish we could release. Stories that sit heavily on our hearts that keep us stuck where we are, in the way of moving forward. So I want to invite us now to take a moment and to just sit and breathe. Listen to your body. Listen to your own lived experience over the last year. What feeling is there? And what else might be lying beneath? What is something you feel like you're ready to set down? Something you feel ready to say, this has got to stop. Maybe feelings or habits or stories about yourself or about other people or about the world that are no longer serving you. Maybe something you've asked yourself or others have asked you, why are you still carrying that? So we have our pieces of paper specially treated so that it evaporates in fire. And I invite you to take your piece of paper and reflect on the year behind you. Consider what you might release today, burning it brightly so that it changes form and disappears. What parts of our lives, what things, ideas, people, ways of living have become obstacles to our becoming the people we want to be, the people we need to be? What might you, in a moment, burn away? What will you release? So write a word or two on the paper. It can be a secret between you, the flame, and the universe. And for the next few minutes of music, we'll invite you to come forward into a ritual of burning. You may either come to one of these areas and burn your paper yourself, or we'll have folks standing here who can help to burn it for you if you'd rather. As your words burn, feel yourself making this choice and feel the weight of all you have been holding fall away. If the past year held joy and growth for you, may that sweetness continue to bless you. If the past year held pain and bitterness, may you be relieved of those burdens and renewed for the journey ahead. Let us look to the new with hope, with curiosity about its many unknowns, and with faith in our strength to navigate it with grace. As the new year is beginning and continuing to unfold, we come here to this place where we have been allowed this morning to lay down all that we have been carrying that doesn't serve us. But our task is not only to let something go, it is to pick something up, to take something on, to set some kind of intention for this new year. An intention different from the resolutions that so often fall away after a few weeks that we beat ourselves up over. To move into something new requires us to pause, to breathe, to pay attention to the gift of this new beginning. So I invite you now to breathe into the call of your life. Breathe. And begin to set an intention. An intention is more of an invitation for who you want to be in this new year and why. A thought about how you want to respond to both the joys and challenges that this life brings. We'll take some breaths of silence, and during that time, I invite you to set your intention for this year ahead. You can say to yourself inwardly during the silence, I welcome this, or I invite that. So let us begin our time of silence together. In our release and in our intentions, I offer this prayer and blessing with words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. In this frozen world, let us set our eyes on softness and kindle compassion, steadfast like the wide sky, and a willingness to change, with hearts refusing to close, arms refusing to turn away, the stranger, the neighbor, the light which beckons still. Let us be those unwilling to miss the beauty, stubborn in our hope, persistently turning towards good. Whatever this year brings, let us know ourselves as partners in this great project, bending the arc towards love. Partners small and also significant, courageous, and also surrendering to the mystery. The story so much greater than any of us, so much more than any of us can see. In this new year, let us make friends with joy in the middle of the day, a celebration before the dishes have been done. We hold our grief with tenderness, with honor for the love that persists. We give thanks with every breath and practice kindness with each step, assuming everyone is doing the best they can, including us. Every day as the sun rises and sets, let us remember we need not wait for a new year to be the people we are called to be. It is never too late to begin again. May it be so. Amen.
We extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to Horizon's mission to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. This we do because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world.
So I invite us at this time, if we're comfortable, to join hands. So friends, my prayer for you as we go forth from this place is that you are able to release all that has been hard and too heavy to carry, and that you pick up exactly what you need. Go in peace.